had my issues throughout life. So we have this quote that I repeat every single day. Episode. My last question is, if you could put a billboard anywhere in New York City, what would it say?
I'm good. Got married. How's it going?
Good.
When I first joined at Junk Luggers, Zach's like, these are the 5 people that you need to go talk to. Yeah. And we had coffee at like La Pain. Put it in like the NYU area. So like Washington.
I think Abby was still with us.
Yeah.
I don't think she was at lunch, but yeah, she was working with us then. That was like the beginning.
Yeah, that was the first time I met.
What year?
2015.
Crazy 17?
Yeah. Started here in 17.
Details because they're afraid that people are going to steal their ideas.
Yeah.
But when you see about how much it takes, how many people it takes, how all the guys it takes to be able to run this store successfully, you see, nothing's a secret.
Yeah.
It's just
Right,
part
I'll be able
of
to
the
do
course.
this. And it just got harder and harder.
Episode 7 of the Lug Life podcast. I'm here with Kate and Ann from Done & Done Home. I recently looked up how long we've been working together. The first appointment was January 18, 2014.
Wow, that's longer. I thought it was 2015. That's amazing.
I got an email saying that you were excited. You were excited we were opening on Sundays. That was the big move.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, I couldn't be any more grateful, not only for our relationship over the last 10 years, but also for how much guidance you've given us. Part of our service and working in junk removal is working with a ton of professional organizers. And I might be a little biased, but I believe you guys are one of the best out there. And
We appreciate that.
so why don't you guys just introduce yourselves? Just so everyone's aware, we're first time doing the podcast at Remix Market, which...
Awesome.
Yeah, which we're literally on the street in Long Island City.
Love it.
My
Very
car's parked.
uniform.
Yeah, my car is parked right in front of us. And so introduce yourselves.
So I'm Kate, and this is my mom, Ann. And we run Done & Done Home, which is a professional organizing and move management business. We're based in New York in the tri-state area. We've been in business 10 years now. And we handle everything. All people's stuff we handle, and then we pass it off to these guys to deal with.
And when we first started out, Kate and I handled all the stuff ourselves. And so when we first heard from Lon and went and had coffee with him, it was like the biggest game changer for
We've
our
been
business.
just paying supers and doormen to help us deal with
Deal
stuff.
with all the stuff and filling our cars and dragging it to places to donate. And then we met with Lon and we thought, okay, this is a better idea.
Yep.
Amazing. So we were just talking about it for a while, how much the pandemic played a part in the growth of your company. And even before that, I know that when we first started working with each other, you guys were what I like to call solo entrepreneurs,
Yes,
right?
we
You
were
were
back then.
you were the CEO and you were the worker.
Yes.
Yep.
And obviously in the last 10 years, things have changed a lot. And just looking back at the last time we talked, you've doubled your workforce.
That's correct.
It's been a crazy time.
Well, in the pandemic, we were all obviously, like we all were, shut during that early quarter, March to May or June or whatever that was in 2020. And then people were afraid, right, of having people in their homes and coming back. But what we learned to do in that time, we used to do all the walkthroughs in person. We stopped doing that because we started doing them via FaceTime. And so that was a huge difference for us. It just saved on hours of us, dragging around the city doing those. So that was a big difference. But we also started doing a lot of moves without the client there.
Wow.
Yeah, everything was done virtually. So they would just FaceTime in and say, like, this stuff's going here, this stuff's going there, that stuff's going out, showing them stuff. Like, we'd be on FaceTime with them all day. Just
That
going
is
through
so
their
nuts.
homes,
So
but they were somewhere else, so they didn't have to worry about being with us.
So thinking about how crazy it was that you guys were literally talking to your clients via FaceTime. Like, what does that bring back thinking about where we are now in the pandemic and that we're able to finally hang out in person without masks on?
It's such a relief, I think, just in your normal life, but also in business. I think what we do is really personal, working side by side with our clients like that. And it's the same way I feel about like my son being at school with everybody having masks on, like seeing people's faces and their emotions, like all of that I think is important. And so when you're going through your belongings and you're making decisions about things, stories about why you held on to something, or your grandmother's china or whatever, it's nice to be able to see the emotions I'm working with and them too. And so I think that it makes it, even though we were able to do it, I think it's much easier and less stressful to be able to just be like how we used to be.
And even when we went to your office this morning before we were here, just seeing everybody's faces again and knowing that we all formed relationships over those years of working together and helping each other and trying to figure out how to be the best junk luggers we could be and how to be the best done and done we could be and all that. And then to see people's faces again, you just realize the human connection is a huge part of what makes work interesting, fun, powerful,
satisfying.
Satisfying. And when you don't see people, it's much, much harder.
Yeah, it was crazy to hear, like, you guys met our director of operations, Ronnie, for the first time.
I have talked to Ronnie on the phone 800,000 times.
And it's
like,
just,
how have I never?
And we had to apologize.
It's not at all what I thought
so
he was going to look like. At a completely different picture in my mind, and it was totally weird.
Yeah, completely different. And he was so nice to say that our team has been lovely, because they have been. I know that they work really hard and they want Ronnie to not think they're the most irritating people in New York.
It's amazing.
We might be a little bit.
A little bit irritating.
So if we could backtrack a little bit, I just am curious, because I think a lot of people that are going to watch this can probably relate to what we were talking about with being solo entrepreneurs. So how did you get from that level where you were literally doing everything to, it sounds like Kate is doing social media and finance and you're doing sales. So how did you get to that point?
So I think one of the biggest things was I got pregnant with my son.
Yep.
And so like I worked through most of my pregnancy with him on site with clients up through like 7 or 8 months. I was like doing moves, doing unpacks. It was insane. But we knew what was coming. And so we had a friend of mine work for us before that doing sort of office stuff. But we realized that the better idea was to grow the team in the field, right? Because the more work done in the field.
We did think in the beginning, because we were so attached to our clients, that we would stay in the field and we would build the office.
Right. And then realizing we had an X number of hours a week and that was it. And so we were like, okay, we need to be able to do more. And so then we hired a woman who was closer in age to my mom, and she came on.
That was the biggest game changer of anything that happened in our business.
What's her name so we can shout her out?
She's not with us anymore.
Oh, okay.
Well,
she was a
miss her. We do miss her.
We miss her all the time. It's just sometimes the team grows and who starts with you doesn't keep going with you. But during that time when she came on board, it made us realize that hiring younger people was going to be harder. And so we ended up and we built our whole business around the idea. I told you everybody that works for us are moms, both in the office and in the field. But that the women
not in the office anymore. We now have 2 youngies in our
office. We'll get to them.
New.
Very
they
new.
just are hired.
They've been just in the last few months.
Amazing.
But then when the organizers come on, they have a lifetime of experience, right? And we always say to clients, it's like your mom helping you. I mean, not your mom, a mom.
Someone's mom.
Right, someone's
helping
mom.
you.
But they have unbelievable skill, and they are patient, and they are compassionate, and they're good at what they do. And they're in their 50s and 60s for the most part. They are strong, and they just every day give it their all. It's just an amazing workforce.
Well, and I think one of the things about going from being a solo or duo entrepreneur is like you have to be willing to know that even as your business is growing, you're in the same spot. You're not making one more dollar. In fact, you might be making less dollars.
Most likely
you're making less. But you have to stay focused on the fact that eventually the tide will turn and you'll be making enough business that you are making more than you were. But to take that initial leap, a lot of times I think it doesn't feel worth it.
That gets you in the J curve.
Yeah, in the J curve. You're spending money to make money. But
it's
I think,
terrifying.
Yeah, it doesn't feel worth it
scary.
at first. And so you just have to know exactly that. Your hours are limited in a week. You can only accomplish so much. You can only do so many jobs and so much billing and all of that by yourself. So you have to go like, okay, I'm going to sink more money into this with the hopes that it will grow. And it's terrifying because sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does. Like for us, it has worked, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been stages. You know, people say, you know, business growth looks like this. It doesn't. It looks like this, right? And eventually the trend goes up, but there are all these downs in there that you have to deal with. And I think if you don't have the stomach for the downs, the growth is going to be really hard.
Well, and that idea that you don't really know when you start out, you think hard work will be all you need, but in truth you need money.
Of course.
And so, there are growth points that were just terrifying. And if we hadn't had friends and family to rely on and our own money to rely on, we would have gone under. And so when they say that, how many businesses go under in the first 5 years or whatever it is?
Most.
Most.
You go,
Of course they do. Yeah, it's not
'Cause
surprising.
you have to be a
Doesn't mean it
maniac.
wasn't- Yeah, it doesn't
You
mean
have to
it
be
wasn't-
completely insane to do what we're all
Right.
doing.
Right? And it doesn't mean that it wasn't a good idea, and even that it wasn't a good business, which is so strange when you think about that. Because you think, oh, well, they messed it up somewhere, something happened. No, they just started to grow and couldn't cover what they needed, and that's that, under.
Yeah, I think right before we started, right, you were asking how much do I work?
Yeah.
And I think the answer for all of us, right, is as much as we can.
Every moment that I'm awake, pretty much.
And even in the middle of the night, wake up and
I was up last night in the
make some
middle of the
notes.
night just worrying about stuff.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I think that people can't really relate to that if you work for a corporate 9-to-5 job, right? A lot of times, I'm talking to friends and they're talking about how they're working on their lawn on a Friday or whatever the case is. They're going on this long vacation.
And you're like, vacation? I'm sorry, what does that mean? I don't understand.
Sure. So I think looking back at it, you guys deserve to succeed
Thank you.
because you've put in not only a ton of money and took the risk of it, but also you guys put in that emotional investment that most people aren't willing to take.
I mean, I would say that, we have moments where we're like, why are we doing this? And why are we trying so hard to grow? And could we ever just be satisfied? And the answer is no. We're like disgustingly ambitious with what we want to do. And maybe that's fine. But I think that thing of taking the time to go like, we did do this thing and we've all grown this and it's been really amazing. And even though, we were laughing the other day, like we had this big win about something and we were really excited about it. And then you get the big tax bill and you're like, oh, okay. So good day, bad day, good day, bad day.
Well, and even good news, bad news, because
Yeah.
big tax bill, the business did way better last year than we predicted. So
Right.
then we
So
had-
yay! And then, oh no, like
Right.
it's just.
I'm
I
starting over.
Yeah, like
Gotta
you
build
have
up
to
the
be
cash.
okay with riding that wave, and I think you have to be a very specific crazy person to be
I
willing
don't
to
know
do
that I could have done it if not for the fact that I was in business with my daughter.
Of course.
I think I might have bailed at some point or just said, like, this is simply too hard. But because we were in it together and I had her back, and I also knew that even though it was complicated and hard, and she's a hard-working mom, she also is able to carve out hours and be with the boys and figure things out. And that's very hard. It's very hard for families to try and figure out which parent, how are we going to do this, what's it going to cost. And so in a family way, we're all in that together. And I don't know if you do know that we live in a two-family.
I
right?
do, yeah. So just tell everyone, because if you don't know, you're fine. Keep going.
Go ahead. We live in a multi-family house out in Montclair, and so I live on the top 2 floors, and my mom lives on the first floor with her husband Mark. And so I have the best that I could ask. It's not the same thing as I think when people have their in-laws who live nearby or their family who lives nearby, because I work with my mom. So like if I'm working, she's working. But it does give me just that little bit of relief to like catch up on stuff or have 5 minutes to myself or whatever, that like I don't know how I would have survived the last 5 years if I didn't have them living with us. I don't know what I would do.
And my husband, Mark, is not Kate's dad. He's Australian. He's my second husband, and he is bananas for Kate's kids.
They're
And
so
Amazing.
They're all out in the garden all the time together. And during COVID, we already had our pod as everything
Yeah.
locked down. We were all there together. But we did realize in doing that, when it happened, we did it kind of on a lark. Kate and John were looking for houses, and then they saw a two-family and said John had grown up more like that, Kate's husband, with extended family, and we didn't really know of that. And so we were like, all right, well, we'll try it. But then during the pandemic, we were able to see, like, this is way better having more adults for
course.
little
Well, so many
children.
people we know during COVID were like, oh yeah, my parents came to stay with us because we were working remotely and someone had to be kids and
course.
all that sort of stuff. But we were like, yeah, that's how we live all the time. Like it's just great.
I love that so much.
Well, and all the things that life requires, laundry, groceries, all of those things, and we all help each other, right? Which is really nice. Someone's running out to the store, you don't have to go, someone else is going.
Yeah.
Because 4 adults
It's
is
like
a
the
lot
old
more.
school mentality that our parents grew up with.
Great. It's absolutely great.
That's amazing, and I feel like that alone right there is like a TV show or a movie because there's 2 things I heard. One, like I would love to just get into how proud you are of the people that work for you, because that's like, you never hear that about the specific type of person that you're looking for to work for you because it will work with their work-life balance. Yeah. And the other thing that I heard, Ann, is you talking about how you would never want to do it without your daughter.
I mean, I don't know that I could do it. people,
We're like two halves of a whole. We're like two non-humans
which
who
I'm
make
not
one
sure.
human.
Again, I don't know that we knew that when we started out.
Of course.
We'd always been very compatible, but we didn't know that we had completely different talents. And maybe some of that developed more because we were in the business, but the truth is, like when we do like our assessments to see our personalities
Yeah.
and all of that, we are two parts of one whole. We are very, very different. And so that makes it not only makes it worthwhile on the really hard days or the really hard weeks, right, where you go like, we're a family business, we're in together. It's like I said, I don't know that I would have had the motivation to do it otherwise, but the truth is, I am more than happy to cover her in any way, whatever it needs doing. And if
I
she
love
were
that.
just my business partner, it might be different, I don't know. But when she, something's going on with the kids or work is bearing down on her and I can go and take care of the kids. And it's not like they're with their mom, but they're with their grandma, so that's, a close second.
Yeah.
Well, and I just think there's something also about any, person being an entrepreneur who's the head of it by themselves. I don't know how I could have ever done that without having somebody, specifically
Totally.
my mom, but somebody to turn to, somebody to talk things through with. We laugh where I have a question and she's like, I know who you can ask Kate. And I'm like, that doesn't help me, but okay. But the idea that just like you have somebody there to bounce ideas off of and who's like really in it with you, I feel like for me, I'm not a super social person, but I like my small groups. And I feel like I would have been really lonely doing it by myself.
Couldn't agree
It would've
more.
been a lot harder.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's lonely at top, right?
Yeah.
It is lonely. It's lonely, and it's less lonely. Give us the opportunity to talk about our team, that now we have a bigger team, both in the field and in the office. And that adjustment has been hard. Kate and I liked being both hands-on with the team when we all worked together, and then when they were just they were in the field, but we were running the office, and we were like in touch with them every minute, and we liked that too. And we miss them at times when there's more divide, but we know that they are being, like we used to
They're
say,
better cared for.
They're
of
being
course.
better cared for. We were doing things like, just get in your car and go. We'll fill you in on the details when we get the details. Or someone would call and say like, okay, I'm getting out of the train. Did you say Fifth Avenue? Like, no idea where they were going, and they would still just trust us to get it right. So it took a while to get operations where they got the proper information to them, and everybody had to accept some growth, that it was painful for all of us. But our team is amazing, both in the office and out.
Yeah, and I think also the thing about building the business, and again, now we have two younger employees for the first time, but building the business sort of around this principle of making jobs that work for moms is something that's just been incredibly important to us. And it wasn't the least expensive thing we could have done.
Of course.
It wasn't the easiest thing we could have done scheduling wise. It wasn't the most affordable in any sense, but it was what we wanted to do. It was the business that we wanted to build. And for our clientele, these people are perfect, right? So we have all our organizers are women in their 40s and 50s and 60s now, even some of them, who have their own kids, mostly grown, end of high school into college. So they've done it. They've run their own homes. They've done their own moves. They've dealt with their kids going to college. They've, done international moves and all this stuff. And so they have all this life experience that they're bringing to the party that we just couldn't have gotten anywhere else. And in sort of exchange for that, they have incredibly flexible work schedules. So they're allowed to take off as much time as they want. And we just book them on the days that they're free. And so they go like, oh, I'm taking my kid back to school. We go, all right, cool. Somebody else can do the job. And they're like, oh, I'm free for the next 3 weeks. We're like, great. We're going to give you a ton of work.
So cool.
And a lot of them have come through friends also. And so they cover each other in that way of like, oh, someone has to go visit their mom. Don't worry, give me her jobs. And so we've built this really nice community of women who are sort of helping each other out and all in the same boat. And then the office is there, and they all have smaller kids like my kids' age. So their kids are between 5 and 12, 13. Yeah. And so to be more local, they need to be around for pickup and games after school and all that. And so we have our offices in Montclair, and then we have another office in Westfield in New Jersey, which is local to two of our operations staff. And so they're there, 9 to 3, and then they go do pickup, and then they, jump back on when they're at home. But I don't know that we knew as we were building it that was going to be sort of the mission of what we were doing. Yeah, we didn't know that, but we wouldn't want to change it now. Like, it's so important to what we're doing, and it's so sort of what we've created the business around. And the best part is all of the organizers are not full-time. So, right, they take off the time that they want, but we're not paying them when they're taking time off. So it works really well in that way for the sort of piecemeal work that we do for organizing.
For me, being at the age that I am, I'm in my 60s, and one of the things that you learn as you live a long time is that flexibility in a schedule for grown women is unbelievably helpful for them.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, obviously it works for us, but it's not only that they've already done the job, they've raised the kids, they're not
Right.
where you guys are, but it doesn't mean they don't enjoy them like mad. And so if their adult kids are home, or if they get a chance
wanna
to
be
go
able
see
to
them,
spend
they
time.
want to spend time. And I think that is an important thing in the world. And then also, some of them have already lost a parent or both parents. A lot of the work that we do as estates,
Yeah, they know.
but having that experience of understanding how to get from A to B in an estate, how to get through that, because it's often an emotional time,
Yeah.
right, where people are trying to sort through their parents or their aunts and uncles' belongings. That, and we do find that the fact that they are mature women who have that experience, they bring all of that heart to the job. I get a little choked up.
No, it's so great. It really is.
It's really amazing. And also because I think a lot of women, as they age out of raising children, all of that, they're like, what's
the
for me
purpose?
now? What was the
Yeah.
purpose? Well,
Yeah.
the purpose is they are full of
Come work
talent.
for us. We need
Right,
all of
yes,
you.
they're talented and able, and
Skills. The skills are practical
Totally.
still.
it's incredible. And so in that way, they still love when they go on a job where there's new babies, because they did all of that and they know how to do that, and taking care of a new family and getting them set up. That's great fun. But also, as I said, bringing that heart where there's a more complicated situation, a loss, a death, a divorce, something
Yeah.
like that. And that, they'll write us 2 days later and say, like, did you hear from so-and-so? Is she okay? How was her
Amazing.
first night? Because they care,
Yeah.
right? And that brings it all to the work.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I think I have so many questions just hearing you guys talk. I think the most important thing that I'm hearing is like, what is your ideal customer? Because you guys are going over estate cleanouts, newborns, downsizing, like you're doing everything, right? So like, if you could tell everyone like who is your ideal client and why, I feel like it would do a lot of justice to, like make sure people understand.
I think that our ideal customer is anybody who has a home, who has stuff that they need to deal with, and they're overwhelmed. We are on the high end price-wise
Of course.
of
So it
people who
doesn't
do
break
this.
down. Our hourly and our daily looks very high, but our efficiency rate means that you might get done and done for a day where you would have had
Somebody
other
else,
organizers.
yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right, so we
it
try
does
and do
shake
it
out
really
that way.
fast like that. But yeah, I mean, we love doing moves. That's really like our move management service is really where we shine most. So we do, the declutter beforehand. We oversee and help with the pack up. Then we do the full unpack on the other end. We bring you guys in after the declutter. We have movers that we're partnered with at Lippy Van Lines. Like, soup to nuts. That thing is solid. Like, if you don't want to handle your move, that's our favorite thing that we do.
Love
But the way that we work, we are so happy to do a 1-day clear out in somebody's apartment to just get them set up, or we are happy to do like a 12-day project, dealing with someone's estate. We really don't care. We like all of it, and also the small jobs and the big jobs help balance each other out.
Of course.
Right? So
And on the schedule that
Yeah.
helps, right? Where people can
we
jump
love
in
it
and
all.
do a day.
We really do.
Let me rephrase then. What values do you appreciate in your customers that
That's
make
hard
you
on me.
that make you feel like they're really going to get like the full potential out of Done and Done Home?
So interesting things happened during the pandemic. One thing is people were suffering, and I don't even know if they knew how much they were suffering, but we saw for the first time really unhappy clients. They were struggling and having a hard time, and even having a hard time with us, not with our work, but just it was all hard. And so that was just very difficult. But we have turned that corner, and
We
everybody
think it's the
sees-
sunshine.
It might be the sunshine.
I think
it might
it
be
is.
that we can be together without masks, all these different things. But it has turned around again, and so that people are happy to see us and happy to have us in their homes, and that's helpful. But as far as the values go, something else that happened in the pandemic is that men didn't understand what we do as well as women understood. And so they would say, I need this and this and that. Can you talk to my husband? Can you, right? And so we would have to try and like help him understand what we're doing here. And so during the pandemic, that changed.
Wow.
Because men were like, I'm home all day, I'm in this house all
It's driving
day,
me nuts.
right?
Yeah.
And so I know how to do this. So I guess an understanding of what we do and its value is incredibly important to a happy job, because then we go in and they're like, they're here, right?
Yeah.
And we get through everything. It's talking through all those items. It is hearing the stories about the stuff, getting rid of the stuff that they don't need or use or want or even like anymore, and then fixing up their home so that it's organized for how they live now. Like
Yep.
sometimes people get very confused with past and future,
Yeah.
right? It's stuff that they held on to from another era.
Yeah.
And that's hard when it's right in your living space, right? If you can get it up high or in this attic or basement or something. And so we just try and organize all of that. So the understanding of that is really, when they know themselves and they know what they're trying to do, it makes our job not only easy, but they're very grateful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So now that you can see how amazing this duo is, I think that it's now, let's dig into the fact that you guys are basically social media phenomenons, right?
That's all Kate. I can't even talk
It's
about
okay.
it.
It's okay. Because of you, I have Roger now, right, to do these podcasts and reels, and now I see how much work goes. It's just a whole nother business, honestly.
It really is.
So I think the first thing that I'm thinking of is just your Instagram presence, right? You guys have 94,000 followers. You're almost at 100,000 followers. You have attracted like the highest end celebrities possible. I'll let you go to their Instagram, Roger, if you can put up their Instagram right now of working with the Real Housewives, working with all of the women from The Office, one of my favorite shows.
They're the best.
Just like, if someone is trying to get into this themselves, like, where would you start? How did you get here? Let's start with Instagram.
So with Instagram, it's funny, the work that we do, and to be honest, we're on the less sort of styling, beautifying side of home organizing. There's a, everybody knows the Home Edit. They have 6 million followers. Like they are killing it in that game. And there's other organizers that we know and love who, that what they do is really beautiful organizing. And so they have grown their Instagrams more than us. And I think for us, what we've tried to convey, I think, in our Instagram is that any home can look good.
Yep.
Any home deserves to look good. You deserve to feel better in your space. You deserve to love your home. That's why we wrote our book. And for us, it's really been about being real and practical with what people can do. I think I respect everybody out there who does their own version of organizing, but for us, like, color coding a pantry is like not something that we're going to get on board with. It's just not what our clients want. I know that other people do, but that's not what people come to us for. But I think that it's funny, like we grew our Instagram by just sort of like clowning around, being Ann and Kate. Like,
totally.
This is us, like, messing around in New York City, going to these walkthroughs, doing these jobs. It's actually harder to run our social now that we're not on jobs.
Yeah.
Because we're less interesting sitting in our office.
Sitting in our desks
Oh my
all day
God, I
doing
couldn't.
this. It's
I
so
totally
boring.
can relate to that.
And so we try and get content from our team, and we do have help now. My aunt Meg is our copywriter and does
That's
like,
my little sister.
That's her sister. So she does all like our blog posts and the writing now that you read on Instagram. That's all her. And we now have Brittany working for us, who's handling our marketing. And she's
one of our young gals.
Yep, she's one of our.
She's
and
a techie.
She's great. She's been on a few months and is just. There's so much that I wasn't doing that I didn't know about marketing, and even as regards Instagram, like I was just kind of doing what came naturally, and just kind of putting myself out there and, hey, here's some pictures. And she's like, you guys, oh my God, like you need more of a system to what you're doing. And I think.
And Kate had to scramble every day. Like we get to
Right.
the end of the day, she's like, I didn't post.
I don't even know. But I think when you're growing your business, I think showing up on Instagram is just really important.
Yeah.
Show your face, be there, be
Yeah.
a person. I think.
Yeah, like let people know who you are.
Let people know who you are. I think trying to just be like a brand can be confusing. I think you want to be people or a person or whatever that people can relate to.
Well, because followers are people.
Yeah,
Right.
they're relating to that
who
aspect
goes like,
of
oh,
it.
junk lookers, oh, done and done.
Couldn't
Totally.
agree.
And I think that for us, our growth has been attributed a lot to celebrities and influencers who have posted about us that we've worked with. And, we've gone through phases of doing more of that outreach and more working with them. And we're in a phase of doing it less now. And it 100% works. The growth works. People talk about you. People follow you. It's a lot of work to do it. And,
and I think, back from before there was Instagram and things like that, advertising, people understood it, but it still had a little bit of voodoo to it.
Of course.
Right? Where people spent a lot of money on ads and they didn't know quite what was happening. And so then when you start working with influencers, people go like, that's crazy. She's a gal who is,
But people feel that they, like, people
they
who
know
follow
her.
us on Instagram feel that they know me and my children, which is totally
100%.
bizarre. Like, we ran into a woman at the Container Store who was like, oh my God, it's me, like, blah, blah. And she told me this whole story, and I was like, oh my God, Meg must have been, like, talking to her. Like, I didn't know who it was. And I was like, oh yeah,
Not right away, you
whatever.
didn't,
Not right
but
away.
then you put it
But then I
together.
was like, oh wait, yes, I do know who you are. And she was asking me about the kids and this whole thing. And I was like, it's funny because people, like, if one of my kids is sick, like, people write in and check in on them. And so, you know, if
and
somebody has something,
you.
totally,
Right?
like, Erica, you're out there, I will give you a shout out. This woman on Instagram diagnosed my son with a tongue tie. He was like dropping weight. I couldn't figure out what was going on, and it was all thanks to her that I went and saw like a specialist, got it all figured out.
And it's
but it was
painless.
Thanks to her.
My daughter had
It
the
was
tongue
amazing,
tie.
right?
Yeah.
And I didn't know, and James hadn't had it, and whatever. And this woman was like, you know, I'm really obsessed about these things, so I just wanted to let you know that, like, I think this is what's happening. Like, you don't have to listen to me. I'm some random lady on Instagram, but she was totally right, and it becomes this like community. So I think to view the people there not just as like random numbers that you're working with, but like they are humans, they are people, they are interested.
Well, and the other organizers, the organizing community is full
They're wonderful.
of just wonderful human beings.
Yeah.
And so we support each other, we ask each other questions, right? They when they're just starting out might come to us, and then, you know, when we're at another level, we go to somebody else.
Yep.
But everybody is there for each other, and that has been very helpful.
But
and
I
that's
think,
all through
and
Instagram.
it's funny, like for us to Instagram, you have these moments where you're like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Like, I'm wasting time posting like, oh, this stupid reels of like whatever. Whoa, who cares that I like turned this into a, you know, shoe rack? Or it just seems so dumb sometimes. And then I keep very meticulous records of where big projects come from, because so many of them track back to Instagram that it makes me feel less stupid about what I've been spending my time doing. And so I do think, like, if you're gonna invest time into it, keep track, because I think you'd be surprised that, like, it does work. Like,
100%.
It works if you work it. Like, you just have to keep at it, but you're gonna get business from it, and you're gonna get, you know, followers from it. And then for us, like, you're starting to be able to do things like brand partnerships, and you know, we got our book because of our Instagram account. Like, there's just things that you never know.
And magic.
We manifested our book. It was a whole crazy thing. But
I love that.
It was Instagram that brought it all together with our manifesting. And so I just
shout out to Lee. So our agent reached out to us because we were saying, you know what we should do? And we printed out like a made-up mock-up copy of our book and put it up on our vision board. And the next day, she reached out to us.
Like, hey, we're looking for people to... And we were like, oh, it's real. Manifesting works. And so I think even in that sense, like, focusing on your Instagram as something of value and not just...
And that the people are something of value. It's not nothing. It's real people who have given you their time, their eyeballs to get on there and see what you're doing, to have a laugh with you, to share information, whatever, that it is real.
Wow, that was no, but that was just so powerful. I think that is why I love your Instagram, because like I could see you guys sitting in the tunnel, you know, all of a sudden there's like an accident, and like who can't relate to that? And I think that was a lot of feedback that I got, was like, why am I showing my family on our Instagram? Why don't I have my own personal Instagram? Because we both know that business is your whole life, right? So like for me, explaining junk luggers is so much more powerful than explaining who Zach is.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, like, to me, when I look at your Instagram, it's like you guys aren't desperate. Yeah. You're just sharing like real life. And at the same time, like, if you like it, that's great. If not,
then it's not the place for you. And
who cares?
That's totally okay too. Like, a woman I really like on Instagram who also runs an organizing company out of the Pacific Northwest called Orderly Space. She's great. You should follow her. She posted a thing the other day, like, people had been giving her a hard time about posting about her family vacation, and she was like, cool, like, then don't follow me. Like, this is my life. This is my page. This is what I do. I'm an entrepreneur. And I took some time off.
An entrepreneur who got a vacation.
Yeah, seriously, though, like, you went to Disney? Like, oh my God, there's hope for all of us to have time off. But you go like, yeah, if you want to follow like a solely business account, then go follow them. And if you want to know about like our business and our family and how we grew this thing and what we're doing, like, then come follow us. There's a lot there. And also, like, for me, about it being about, you know, organizing and home management and efficiency, like, I learned that in my own home. I learned that from my mom. I'm working on it with my kids. I'm trying to constantly improve my own life. And I think for me, like, I show embarrassing parts of my life. My home is a damn disaster some of the time, but that's okay because it can go back to being organized and attractive in a pretty quick amount of time.
Yeah,
like,
kids good on the speed cleanup.
Yeah, like, I let my kids destroy my home. Like, last night I was like stressed out, all this work to do. I like stand at my computer on my kitchen counter because otherwise Charlie says "Kampu Pater" and like tries to get up there and like push all the buttons.
I just dealt with that last night.
Oh my God, I'm like, stop touching my computer.
Yeah,
so
she's
I
like,
stand and do it, and just I turn around and bedlam, and I'm like, it's fine because they'll get in bed and I can clean up my house in less than 10 minutes. So what do I care? But I think if you're not at that first level of ever getting it set, you can't imagine. And so it's like, cool, I'm here to show you your kids can destroy your house, but also it can go back to normal. And that's maybe different than some other brand who's being like very businessy about it. You go, that's fine for them. That's not what we're doing. I don't know how to separate the two. I don't exist without Done and Done, and Done and Done doesn't exist without us.
Totally.
So like my whole life is Done and Done. I breathe it all day long. So if like you want to follow along, please do. And if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, and like you guys are real people,
Right.
you know? Like I think that there's nothing worse than seeing someone on Instagram like, look how perfect this person is.
Yeah,
They never
no.
struggle. Every day looks like the best day of their life. And I think
That's not me.
the really the point of this podcast was to show how real you people are, entrepreneurs are.
Yeah.
I think the next thing that I was just so impressed with was you guys literally have hundreds of publications. We've been in, I would say, 10 major publications, New York Times, New Yorker, New York Post, all those local. I know how much work goes into that.
That's a lot.
You're preparing, then when they show up, you have to make it look perfect. Then you're following up for months and months to see what happened with the article.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, it might actually post.
Right, it might actually happen, and if not, oh well.
Oh well, then I just spent 100 hours for something that didn't. And then by the time someone's like, Zach, I'm so impressed you were in the New York Times, I'm like,
You're like, don't be, man. You know what?
I'm like thinking to myself, like,
Took everything I had.
exactly.
It's a lot. It is a lot. I think some of it a little bit, again, is that home organizing has had this big wave,
Yeah.
thanks to Marie Kondo and the Home Edit. And
Shout out
so-
to Marie Kondo.
Totally. Like, we are riding that wave. Grateful to both of those companies. They've definitely,
Well, they made people understand something
What it
that was
was.
kind of mysterious. People
Yeah.
didn't exactly understand what we did.
And
Yeah.
so I think it's maybe easier in that way because people have reached out to us of like, hey, you do this thing that other people do that people are writing about. Let's get your opinion on it. But I think that, the press, it's a lot. And sometimes it pans out in that it even gets published. And sometimes it pans out like we had our amazing New York Times piece that we were so excited about. But the way that people took the article, they thought we did something a little bit different than what we do. And so we got like hundreds of inquiries for jobs that were not right for us. And we were
Totally.
like, great. So, yay, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much
And it
for all the
created a
time.
ton of work.
A ton
Right.
of work. And so you go, you don't, you never
can't
know what you're
control.
getting. You can't control it. And
Right.
that's the thing about press. Sometimes it falls in your lap. Sometimes you work really hard for it. Sometimes it pans out really well. Sometimes the small ones that you didn't think were going to be a big deal turn out to be huge sources of jobs. And
Well,
so,
which is another thing to say about Instagram. You do control that,
Yeah.
right? And so you do for all the work that goes into it.
yeah, it's in your hands.
It's in your hands,
Versus
Yeah.
right?
press,
How
which is
you want
not.
to be seen and who you are as a company and how people relate to you, that's on them. But what you put out there,
Yeah.
at least in that, because an article goes up in an amazing publication and it's not exactly who you are, that's hard.
It is. It's very hard. I mean, the first time it happened to me, I was like, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
What?
It's hard.
Yeah,
And
that's
you can't
very
change
hard.
it, but I think ultimately that is entrepreneurship. And I was just so amazed to look at your publications. You're like Us Weekly, like you're just, it's everything. Art Digest, like I love looking at their home edition where they pan through celebrities' homes. So I think ultimately I'm very impressed. Like I took something as, it feels as concrete as applications, did your own twist on it, right? You weren't afraid to get in any publications. Oh,
Yeah, I
these aren't.
know. Yeah, I think, well, and for us,
We're always flattered. Like when somebody
Yeah.
calls us, they're like, "We have a tiny load." We're like, "Great, let's set up a call," right?
Yeah.
Because they need content.
Yeah.
Right. We need
Well, and
to be covered.
We,
so
we do sort of, as I was saying about the type of jobs we do, it's also a sort of large spectrum of, we work for a ton of design firms where they come in and we do the installation, so we put back all their clients' stuff. They're handling the art and the furniture. We're dealing with like clothes and kitchen items and all that. So there's that in terms of like architectural design. Like, that's great for us. But also Us Weekly, like we work for celebrities sometimes, and that's fun and cool. And so I think it's, again, we're in a bit of this like broader market than maybe we thought we were ever going to be in. But it's like, listen, we'll take any job. So like, regardless of where it comes from, we're like, great, yeah, sure, why not?
Happy
Why
to
not? Mm-hmm.
do a one-day job, helping. Sometimes like when a couple is moving in together, and those are great jobs for our team.
it's a fun one.
But we always say, keep in mind, you're making room for each other.
Right.
Right, and so they have to get rid of some of their stuff and try and figure it out. But it's to start off on that solid foot as you move in together,
Yeah.
instead of someone feeling that they like encroached on someone else's space or they moved in together and they didn't get enough space is really one of those things that it's like, yes, it's an expense to have Done and Done come in for a day, but then they are set up, right? If they're ready to go in their new apartment, and New York has tiny apartments with people, multiple people living in them. We all know that. And so to at least make every inch work for you, which we, besides pulling everything out and having you guys help us with the decluttering and all of that, we also design the space to make it work better. Right, so whether you're doing like when we do high-end for our designer clients, or where it's really putting in like an IKEA bookshelf, right, for somebody where it's like the space is dead, you got to go up, you got to use the vertical, we got to figure this out, otherwise you're going to be tripping over this stuff.
Amazing. I needed to move inside, not only because it was crazy outside, it was like typical New York, people walking by. I couldn't believe how nice some people were.
I know, people were like, oh, sorry.
And then other people were like, get the fuck out of here.
Real New Yorkers just charged on through.
I don't care what you're shooting. You see it all day long. We're now inside of Remix Market, so if you want to just pan so everyone can see.
It's very cool in here. We have not been inside yet. It's very cool.
So full with donations and furniture that we literally had trouble finding a place to do this.
It's massive in here.
It's amazing. I know, I'm like, what stuff came from our clients?
So I think what people are really interested in hearing about is your celebrity interaction. You know, when I saw you guys working with Pam from The Office, I wanted to know, like, is she as sweet as she looks?
Yes, 100%.
But I think what, the viewers would be really excited to hear is, like, are they real people? Like, what is it like working with someone that has millions of followers and like can't even leave their house because of paparazzi?
So it's interesting. They totally are just regular people. And I would say 90% of them are super nice and super grateful for the help. Yeah, exactly what you were talking about outside, like people who get what we do and get why we're there and are grateful to have the help. I think also, with money and being celebrity, and we do a lot of influencers and stuff where they get so much stuff for free.
Yeah.
They end up in this place of like, they're so grateful that they're in this lucky position, 1 in a million, that people want to send them their products to talk about or whatever. And they don't want to just get rid of it, and they feel really bad because they know these brands sent it to them.
Yeah, everyone's highly responsible.
Yeah, they don't want to be wasteful. They don't want to throw it in the garbage. They want it to go to a good home. Even like we do some beauty influencers. They end up with like bins and bins and bins full of like perfectly good cosmetics and beauty stuff that they're like, I literally cannot just throw this in the trash, but like I would never use this in a lifetime. Like I tried it, I talked about it, I didn't talk about it, whatever the thing is. And so I think sort of keeping that in mind of like, they're very much regular people. And if anything, they've got more issues because they've got more stuff and they have to be more careful
quality
about
stuff too.
Yeah.
And yes, quality stuff is hard to get rid of, right? Because it is good stuff. And so they know it's perfectly good. They're not crazy or anything, but they just don't need any more than they have.
Totally.
I don't think we've worked with any celebrities where it felt like, I think people have in their mind sometimes this idea of like, oh, they have so much money, it doesn't even matter to them. That's not been our experience at all.
No. They're like as responsible, they're careful. I think the first celebrity, you can correct me on this, but I think our first celebrity was Dorinda.
It was.
So Dorinda Medley, who is an old friend of mine, we lived in London together. And when she came onto The Real Housewives, she was an immediate hit and people absolutely loved her. And walking around New York with her is a fascinating New York experience because New Yorkers call out and they want to say hi to her and they want to talk to her, and she stops for everybody. And she very generously offered to both have us film with her and then to be in her home. And she posted about us, but then she also talked us up to the other housewives, and their endorsement brought in a ton of business, all of them. But also because you see them, they're reality stars. And so you see some certain aspect to their lives. And it was weird because we were like, it's real, all right? They're just who they are. They're just people. But their generosity was unbelievable.
Yeah, they were all really helpful.
Right, and so we'd go and do their house one day or whatever, and they'd talk about us, but it did create so much great work for us.
And I think to be totally transparent about it, they don't pay us to come there, right? So they're not, we have many celebrities we've worked for who do not post about us, and they're just normal paying clients. Yeah. And then people who post about us, they don't pay for our services, or they get a discount or however, we work something out with them. Every single time it has been worth it for the most part.
That's amazing.
Right? And so I think, we were even talking to a guy who's redoing our website for us. And he was saying, like, I want your business because that's a good endorsement for my business.
Yeah.
Right. So it was the same for us. Every time we've done it, it's been worth it. We've gotten new followers, new clients. And now one of the reasons that we started the course and then the book is that there were all these people who wanted a part of Done and Done, but they don't live in the tri-state area. They don't have money to spend on this. They want our help and our expertise, but they can't afford to have us come into their homes. And so it started with our online course, which then turned into the book. And we're sort of revamping the online course right now to be more of like a partnership with the book. So it'll be broken down more and more how-tos and all that.
It's more hand-holding and coaching.
Yeah, it's more like coaching than just like a written course with
so
some
people
videos.
could do it themselves.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about the celebrities, for one second? Most celebrities in the United States, it's not something that's passed down.
Yeah, they
It
don't come
happens,
from it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they went to high school with you. That's your cousin. It's this
Yeah.
person. And they've worked very hard and they have succeeded at their job. But I would say that most of them feel lucky and they express that it could have been the other guy in the acting class or it could have been, right? And so when we're with them, for the most part, all the celebrities we've worked for are just like good
Nice
people who
normal,
you know, then they're happy to have some help.
Yeah.
And they're probably appreciative that
Yeah.
you can talk to them as real people.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, when you look at your social media, it doesn't feel like it's been sponsored by them. Like when you see them and they're talking about their experience, they're actually excited.
Yeah.
They're not just doing it because you're giving them a discount.
Right.
They're doing it because, like, this is where they live.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably, most of them are OCD freaks. And, like, to them, just like to me, organization is, like, one of the most, like, meditative
totally.
experience.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
That's
and
right. Well, especially when you're busy.
Right.
Like to be able to come home and have your home function for you after a crazy, insane day. Like we all know when we get back to our houses, the idea that I'd be coming home to something crazy, I just couldn't deal with it. So like if you're somebody like a celebrity who has a very busy, active life and you're outside of the house and you're filming and you're doing events and you're doing all that stuff, to come home and just have like peace and calm is so nice.
Well, and sometimes there'll be someone on Instagram, a celebrity, talking about their crazy house or their garage or whatever, and I'd do anything, whatever. And a friend or someone who knows us will say, "Hey, so and so was talking about." Reach out to them, and Kate will DM them and say, like, "Hey, we'd love to help you. Let's talk."
Yeah, it starts from an organic point most of the time.
Right? So they already need help, and so that makes it what you're seeing is natural. They did need help with their garage. We did their garage. Then it works out.
Yeah, we were just on the morning show, and
Congratulations.
no, not us personally. They were talking about spring cleaning,
All right.
and I can't remember. Al Roker was like, "Have you guys reached out to the junk luggers?" And and I'm thinking to myself, like, how did this even happen?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, how did he just say that like it's a brand name, like Apple or Google?
But it is.
Yeah,
and
it
I
is.
think ultimately, like, he probably knows someone that had a really great experience.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's used this directly because we'll never know. It's under their assistant's name. But, like, when you see these posts, you can see that
it's
someone
real.
truly loved it.
Well, and I think that's the thing also, like, we've worked with a lot of the different Junk Luggers franchises. We work with you guys the most, but in all cases, there's so much care taken with what you guys do. And randomly on LinkedIn the other day, I saw another, I don't know who it was, but somebody else in Junk Luggers at another franchise posted this thing about how they had damaged somebody's mailbox and they went and fixed it and they got like it, a new one, or they fixed it or something. And that the person then called them a year later to come back again. And that right there is the thing of like, you did the right thing. You spent the money, you fixed the problem.
Admitted you done it.
Yeah. you made the client happy. And there you go. That's not only back to that person, but it's a referral to their friends and to their family. Like, I think, you guys, the same way that we do, we take really, a lot of pride in making sure that we're doing a good job and that we solve issues that come up. Because, like, when you're dealing with people's stuff and you're moving in their homes and there's things go wrong, they just are going to go wrong. It's bound to happen. But I think that you guys, as much as us, work really hard to fix those issues when they come up, which is why we love working with you.
We're doing 10,000 customers a year right now. So the fact,
oh my God, that's incredible.
Think about the chance, like, what is
everything's
going to
go wrong.
That everything's going to go right. So for me, it's not about the mistake because that's already done. It's more about what are we going to do to get you back. And however we get you back as a customer, you're going to be even more loyal.
10,000 customers? Oh
10,000 customers just in New York.
I can't believe you've taken the time out of your busy life to
get
talk
back
to
to
us.
work.
What are you doing here?
Luckily, I have such a strong team that can run Junk Luggers, can run Remix. Now I have Roger that can help share all this interesting and just like these tidbits that you're giving everyone. People need to hear this. People need to hear that your life is chaotic. You have 2 kids. You're living in the same house. You basically have 2 kids.
Yes, she does.
People need to hear how just going above and beyond a little bit every single day starts multiplying and creating this where you guys are today. Because I admire how open you are on social media because it's not easy. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to talk about the bad times.
No, you don't, but you kind of have to. And I think, Mom and I have this sort of expression, I don't even know where it started from, but the idea that move the needle. Like every day you just
a little bit.
A little bit, whether, for us, we're really bad at taking care of ourselves and making time for ourselves, but like you go for a walk. You go to the gym, you work out for literally 5 minutes. Like that's moving the needle. Or in your business, you set a timer, 10 minutes on one thing. Like we're trying really
things
hard.
you dislike the most.
Yeah, or the things like trying to work on your business, not in your business. Like our business coach has been really clear about that with us. And it's, not only is it money expensive, but it's time expensive for us to take time out of what we're doing normally inside the business to focus on the whole thing and what we're doing and how we're growing and structuring it with a plan in place. Like it's all been on a whim until 12 months ago.
we had no skill. We had no skill in that, and we had no background in it. Kate's dad and her brother, my son, they have a great way to think about business, and they have helped us a lot when we've gotten into the weeds where we didn't know what we were doing. And so that is helpful, but they are both corporate, and so entrepreneurial life is different. And if
scary.
if they had to think about our numbers every day, they wouldn't rest, right? It would be scary. But having Glenn, who is an entrepreneur, and having him help us with a plan, overseeing the thing and understanding this is how businesses grow. This is what we didn't know that. We are so kind of just in it.
Yeah.
And Kate has organized her friends through Instagram, and they help each other, right? Like we were saying outside. But other than that, we've just and you guys.
Yeah, right. Like if you want to build a big company, you have to plan for that and you have to think about it. And like we just kept treating it like the solopreneurship with a lot of people who worked for us. And it's like, no, you guys need structure and policies and, all of the hiring practices and core values. And we were like, what?
Well, and people who work for us have more corporate background than we do.
Yeah.
And so they'll say like, that you can't really do that. That's not how that works. And we go, why not? Right? Yeah. And we've just been like building and growing and changing, but we did need some structure to it. Otherwise the thing was going to just turn into a monster.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. Amazing. I think let's just take a step back. I want to make sure that we do a really good job explaining. You guys have put so much work, into your weekly newsletters. I love them. I know they're a lot of work.
Meg.
I know they're a lot of work though. And
they are.
Probably the last thing you want to do is come up with this good content for your weekly newsletters. But I think you do a really good job of putting content in there that's relevant and free, really.
Yeah.
You always.
Thank you for saying that, because you never want to overload people with information, but we do want to be generous with information.
Yeah.
And so we kind of tried to ride that in between. And my sister Meg, who I told you, she does a lot of the writing, and she knows us so well, that when we're all working on it together, you're like, right, that's who we want to be. That's what we want to say.
And just basically telling people products that you guys love.
Yeah.
Right.
That you're not getting a cut.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, this is cool stuff we're interested in. And people are like, oh, okay, I'd be interested in that too. Because like I followed along with you anyway, whether it was like an article that we read or like talking about you guys, or like everybody has the same problems in their home and the same things they're dealing with. And it's like, hey, you got a problem with your pantry? Like these are some products we love. And I think that's right. And for us, like we have a very good open rate on our newsletter. And that for us, that's sort of, we just stick with that. Like if people are opening it and they're reading it, just keep doing it. It means it's working. And for a really long time, we didn't have anything to sell those people.
We also didn't know if they were opening it.
Yeah, no, we weren't even logging into like MailChimp and like whatever. We had no idea what was happening. We were just doing it. And now we have Brittany, thank God, who's helping us. But we weren't selling anything. It was just like, hey, we like you. Thanks for following along. In the same way our social was. And again, now it's like we've been working on these other things to sell, of like our course or our book. And
so let's go into that.
Yeah.
So can you just explain to everyone, Love Your Home Again? It's a course online.
Yep.
It's a subscription model. Obviously that's turned into the book, but let's go into the course first.
Okay.
Like, why did you guys do that?
We did the course during the very beginning, right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Is when we started. Kate,
it launched January of 2020.
You'll tell when you see the videos, Kate was very pregnant.
My big fat head.
But it really was because people would call us all the time or reach out to us, email or whatever. And they'd say, this is what I need. And I'd say how we charge. And they'd go, I can't afford it. And so I would always say, send me your questions. I'll just answer them for you if I can. Send me pictures.
I know, right? I'm sitting there at 10 o'clock at night, like answering some lady in Missouri about her, pantry.
But I do want to help, and I know that things can be better with just someone saying like, oh, I see what you're trying to do there. This is what you should do. And so then we thought like, well, wait, we could just do that. We could just actually help people and explain how we do a kitchen, how we do a bathroom, what it means to declutter everything, why you would use the junk luggers to take all those things away, just how it works. And so we just started talking about it and kind of just Ann and Kate style, just sat down, propped the phone up there.
We filmed it on an iPhone. It's like very basic, but people really like it. We've sold 100,000 courses, which is, 1,000 courses at $100, $100,000, 100,000 courses. 100,000 courses. That would be amazing.
That'd be great.
That's the goal. But and so, I think it really was just about helping people who we couldn't reach otherwise. And it's been great. I mean, we've gotten really good feedback about it. It was totally a learning experience since we really did just like jump in and didn't know what we were doing.
Well, and they've been, the clients of the course have been generous with feedback and we've asked them questions. And so,
some of the things that we thought were going to be important, people didn't really care about. And some of the stuff that we thought was tiny turned out to be really interesting to people. And so in, Love Your Home Again 2.0, which is what we're working on right now, it's going to be, we're changing the model a little bit. We're changing some of the content. It's going to be more interactive, more like coaching. You're going to have more, feedback, and you're going to be able to upload before and after photos, and it's just going to be more interactive in that way to go side by side with the book, which is also Love Your Home Again, and that's coming out with Chronicle. It's on pre-sale right now on Amazon and other places.
And that's unbelievably
we're really excited.
Well, and to just give everybody who listens to this just patience with the long haul, I got my master's in creative writing 20 years ago.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was at the new school and I learned a ton. I had a ball, and Kate and I, in fact, were writing together before we started Done and Done.
We were writing screenplays before this, and then we also had a jewelry business. It's been a long time.
But when that was all going on, I assumed that would happen very, very quickly, right? I'm a good writer. It's going to happen very quickly. And it didn't. And we ended up doing something else. And so all these years later, to double back on an original dream and say, like, I really wanted to do this, and I did it, right? It's just a great feeling. To be completely honest, again, Kate and I being two halves of one whole, I could not have done it in any way, especially when you see the finished product. It's visual. There's unbelievable photography, and that's all Kate's eye. That's all seeing all of that and working with Julia, our photographer. But we could not have done it. And even the way that we write, I get up early in the morning and write, and then Kate reshapes, edits all of that, and gets it back to me by night, and then I get up in the morning and do it again. And so, and it doesn't interfere with our work day. So she's doing that part at night, I'm doing early morning, and then we're off to work. And so we got it done that way. But it's fantastic. Like when we got the reader's event, the advanced reader copy the other day, and it was just like.
And my little son Charlie was carrying it around, kissing it. I don't think he had any idea what it was, but it was like the cutest thing ever.
But it's very exciting to have something that you can hold in your hands of like, hey, we did this.
Well, and it is like the first tangible thing, because you go like clients, the way we all work with them, that's not really tangible. Or even like our course is not. This is like a thing that we made. It's like the chair, right? You're like, I made a chair. It's like that. It's like you created this thing and it lives in the real world. And it's something that you can hold. It's very cool. And I think it is sort of the culmination of 10 years of Done and Done and a lot of hard work, but then all the years before that of all the other stuff that we were doing that we were like, maybe it'll be this thing or maybe it'll be that takes off.
You just don't know, right? And then you have to change gears. You have to like let go of a dream that you thought was going to happen. You go, okay, not that. Let's try this. And a lot of times it's very, very scary.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And again, without each other, I think we might not have been as brave. Yeah. We were maybe silly brave.
Yeah, silly brave. Well, that's good.
I'm sure that the product came out even better because of that, right?
Thank you.
Because you were willing to step outside of your comfort zone and really come up with something that makes you feel vulnerable again.
Yeah,
like,
that's
me,
so true.
I always wanted to write a book, but I feel like there's so many books out there, right? And then you have the
but there's only one you.
There's only one you.
This is the reason we're making the podcast, right? Like, there's so many podcasts out there, but just like you love creative writing, I love podcasts. Like, I listen to podcasts all morning coming up to our podcast. And Roger's like, what's going on? Why are you?
So how do you find the time? Like Mom and I talk about this all the time.
'Cause we're
Everyone we know is
together.
into podcasts, but we're always together. So we never have on like podcasts or music or anything because we're literally
We work in the
always
car.
talking.
So one of us is driving and the other one is working.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I need more time for podcasts. People send me podcasts like, you'd love this, you'd love this. I'm like, I don't have time. I can't figure that out. I don't.
It's just something I love so much
I know.
that I'd
My
rather
brother's
listen
that
to
way.
podcasts than music by this point.
Yeah, I would always choose music.
Because it's like the most interesting people, you know, that
know.
I want to hear more about some random topic that I have no clue.
Like when you and your wife are in the car together, will you listen to them? Do you
She
both
hates
like?
my podcast.
Does she like different
We're
podcasts?
listening to like Sesame Street and Elmo.
Yeah.
That's where you're at right
Yeah,
now.
we're-
On your way to Raffi.
James likes to control it. He has songs on his iPad that are all his favorites.
So
So
he
likes
has
to
hit
control
music.
it.
He's good.
He's got good music. It's just he
Good.
changes it after about 4 seconds. So that's fun.
I don't mind that.
So famous, successful professional organizing company.
Yeah, we
You
do.
have-
Yeah, we do.
Super successful Instagram account. You have these amazing weekly newsletters. You have these online courses that you're now about to redo. And at the same time, you're about to release the future New York Times bestseller on professional organizing. So like, what's next? Do you guys think about that?
We do. We've got some things in the works that we're, waiting to hear about.
You'll be the first to know.
Yeah, exactly. But I think taking a beat where we're at right now is kind of important. And what we were saying about the growth of our business and working on the business and structuring it, I think we're definitely in a growth phase. And if we don't make plans for what we're doing, it's going to be really hectic. So I think, we're kind of taking a pause on any of that right now.
Well, and trying to take care of our team in the
Yeah.
sense that, like, when we're pedal to the metal, just constantly pushing forward, we sometimes forget that they're like, hey, hi, I'm out here, I'm working, right? And so
We're
we're
human.
trying to take time to spend more time with them because we miss them. But also, we want to hear how they're liking their work, what's going on, all those things, and about their families and whatever. And so we have seen in the last year that is equally as important. Like, it feels like the most important thing is growing the business so everybody will have work. That feels like the most important thing, but it turns out it's not.
It's the human interaction.
Yeah.
It is.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, as you guys, I've been taking you on a tour of Long Island City, right? And like, sometimes I'll come to Remix or I'll go to Junk Loggers and I'll be like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need more of that. That's
Like,
this year.
what is your incentive?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I know they're thinking.
Yeah.
Or like, why are you talking to me? And I'm like, I got nothing. I'm just checking
saying
in.
hi.
Right.
Yeah.
Just sitting here, seeing how you're doing. And
Well, and I
I think
think-
Well, without them,
Yeah.
you've got nothing. Without our workers, we literally have no business. It would be Kate and I back on the jobs, the two of us. It would be a very, very different setup. And so to every day, like we have talked about, picturing their faces, right, on a daily basis and remembering without these people, we have nothing. Take care of them, think about their families, think about what they're trying to do. And don't just get completely caught up in our insane ambition to move the company forward.
Like I think for us to focus on that and on what we have now and what we've built and enjoy what we've built, I think that's the next little time there to relax and enjoy this a little bit as best as we
I
can.
love that so much. I think just focusing on humans
Yeah.
is like so underrated, and COVID
so
really
important.
messed us up.
Yeah.
and social media messed us up.
Yep.
And, the fact that I can just FaceTime anyone at any moment, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can, we need to get back as a society
Yeah.
to like longer formats where there's people get so annoyed about these podcasts because I didn't give you any questions. I just said show up.
Yeah, great. We were here. We're like, where do we park? We're here.
And I think that that's what we need
Yeah.
after the pandemic.
I think that's right.
There needs to be awkward silence. There needs to be like, wow, you just said something. Can we dig into that a little bit more? So this is my own personal belief, but that's
think
what
that's
I
right.
love about doing these podcasts is just this human element. We're not wearing headphones. We're not sitting in a podcast studio. We're sitting in the middle of the street.
love it. I love it.
People are walking by, donation trucks, everything, you name it. So I feel like I wouldn't do you guys justice if we didn't think about some life hacks or apartment hacks or house hacks that you would recommend to someone who just wants to like stop being so frazzled every day by clutter.
I mean, number one, bottom line, Get rid of every single item you do not need, use, or love.
Wow.
Everything must go. And then,
Well, and when you release
organizing
it,
is pretty simple when you don't have too much
it
shit in
is.
your house.
And when you release it to the universe, like one of the things that's very hard for some people to let go of things. And so we have these avenues. They come to you and you find people here at Remix who want these things. But for many people, just imagining someone else who could use it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Just picture that other person and just release it to the universe. You don't have to get it, like people go like, I want it to go to a good whatever. I wanted to get it to the right person. And you go, you can't control that.
No.
Just accept and hope. Right?
And in letting go, we always say, watch the front door, right? So you've done the big clear out. You're living with exactly what you need, use and love. The over purchasing is where people are going wrong.
Because it's so
Your
easy.
house wouldn't be
There you are.
cluttered if you weren't over
Right,
purchasing.
you're looking on Instagram, they're giving you ads all day
Yeah.
long. They're
Amazon.
listening to our conversation.
Yeah.
Everything we talk about now, we're going to start getting Google ads
I
for.
know.
So
It's crazy.
yeah, and I think people are so surprised when they come to my house and it's so minimalist.
Yeah.
Because
so
my
much better,
life
though.
is clutter.
Yeah.
Right? Like here.
But that's why it's like you just need.
Yeah, and it's just like I would rather let everyone come here and experience these goodies and these treasures than like hoarding it for myself.
I
Right.
think that's right.
Well, and I think it does the idea of that, you know, the old one man's trash, another man's treasure, but it is true. And so you just have to shift it down down the system and let someone else find it so that they can have it and enjoy it. Because if you're not enjoying it and you're holding on to it because you should, there are no shoulds.
Yep.
Right? Like just get rid of that stuff.
Couldn't agree more. Or you're going to end up giving all your stuff to John Gluggers.
Anyway, so there you go.
So this should be a lesson for everyone. Less is more.
Let it go.
A question I ask every one of my guests. If you could have a billboard sponsored by Lug Life, so you wouldn't have to pay for it, it could be anywhere you want, where would it be, what would it say, and why?
I guess it would be in New York, since a ton of our business
Yeah, it
is
would
there.
be like, those, like the Manhattan mini storage ones on the West Side Highway. It would be like one of those.
It would be on the
similar
West
to
Side
those,
Highway.
honestly.
Yeah.
I think it would say, we want you to love your home again.
Because we do. The idea of
Or
that.
we want to help you love your home again.
Oh, even nicer. That the driving force is that. Home is a hugely important thing, right? It's where it all happens, where it's all at. And even work has been happening there for the last couple of years. But yes, the idea that you love your home, that you walk in the door and you're like, this is manageable. This is okay. This works for us. So yeah, love your home again.
Well, and I can't remember where we originally talked about this, but like the feeling that we're trying to create in the homes of our clients stems from the home that I grew up in, right? Like we had a lot going on. My parents were divorced. We had multiple homes that we were moving between. We moved a lot, whatever. But home itself was this like wonderful sanctuary with my family. And it was calm and it was peaceful. And we all liked being there and my friends were welcome there. And so the idea that we can help our clients have that feeling of like calm and joy and ease and
No matter what else is going on, right? You can have that. You can have your moments of cozy.
That's why you always say on the phone, like, I can't help you with the big problems, but we can help with the stuff. Like,
Love that. That's so great. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I'm just so amazed by how big the business is. Like, I've lost track somewhere along the
I
way.
think when we met you, it was when we
was in my
first,
apartment.
right? It was, it was really
I think
tiny.
When you and I talked for the first time, we talked on my landline,
Yeah.
which was my
so good.
my office line. My wife was my girlfriend at the time. She just moved in. The top level was a duplex. The top level was our office, which had an enormous table that took up the entire room.
Nice.
So you had to literally like
Scoot around the
the
edges.
entire just to get out of the apartment, and then I lived downstairs.
Amazing. It's
And so were the
amazing.
other guys, as you started to grow, coming there?
Oh yeah, 6 a.m. every single day. I'd still be in the shower, and I would just tell them,
Come on in.
Yeah. Come on
I'd
in,
just
get
tell 'em,
to it.
like, this is what's going on, getting the trucks on the road. I'm just going to shower quickly, and then I'll be right out.
And how many trucks do you guys have now?
20.
What? Oh my God, I've totally lost track. It's exactly what you said. I was like, wow, you guys doubled your business. Like somewhere in the last few years, I've lost track of how big it's gotten. That's incredible.
20 trucks.
Yeah, and I get pictures of the trucks every single day. I love that all the guys are like so used to it now, and they're so friendly, and they take photos with all my family friends, and I like, to me, it's been so much work just to get to this point that I'm not surprised. I'm more like, I'm just more appreciative.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, you know what? It's
Because
funny.
you can breathe. Like momentarily you can breathe and you can appreciate it.
Because we've been friends on the business side of things, but we would be remiss not to say that your luggers are amazing.
Yeah, they're
like
great.
the guys who work for you, the friendliness that like sometimes it's dirty, nasty, hot, hauling, and I know they're stronger than we are, but it's still a strain, and they're carrying stuff, flights and flights of brownstones and all of that, and they're just cheerful, happy, do their job. We are always, when the luggers show up, we're like,
always so happy.
Okay, we're going to be okay. All this stuff can be, taken out of here.
Yeah, I think first of all we have a full-time hiring manager.
We need that one day.
Yeah.
We're going to follow in your footsteps
And
there.
we interview hundreds, if not thousands, of people to select a handful.
That's so interesting.
Well, it makes sense when
it's
you
the
think.
opposite of
And
what we
that's
do.
why
We
you're
hire
saying-
we interview one person. We're like, great, you're hired. You're a good fit.
Well, it used to be like that when
Yeah.
when I was doing the interviewing, but now it's like there's only one thing that I guarantee, that each individual guy has been through rigorous interviewing, multiple interviews for a job that, has this bad stigma around it. The reason we can trust these guys to go in the nice apartments in all of the, really the country, if not the world, is because we know them. We know their family. They know us.
Yeah.
They had to do 2 weeks of training just before we put them on a truck.
Yeah.
So the amount of work and the amount of people that drop out, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're like, I'd rather you do it now.
Get it over with now.
Yeah,
Put it in
yeah.
my heart
Honestly,
now.
it works though. Like the caliber of the people that you have and the way that it comes across and the way that they operate with our clientele, which as you know is like super high in New York, like they're excellent. Every time they are excellent. And so we never hesitate to bring you guys into anything that we're doing. We're like, yep, they can do it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I think a lot of businesses are like, I want this specific person because they don't trust the whole company.
Right.
With us,
Yeah,
it's
we have
like,
none of that. We're like, yeah,
it's
great, whoever comes.
shows up, I know is going to give it
Yeah.
100%.
That's right.
Well, and when you do think back to when we were so much smaller and we saw your guys, multiple days a week,
Yep.
Same guy.
right?
Yep.
Same guys. We're all very attached to each other. Even when I walked in your office this morning, saw Daryl there and whatever, and just to see each other again, like,
All
oh
these
my
years
God, all these
later.
years later, it's really amazing.
Yeah, Daryl has gone from the guy in the truck to now our director of training. So it's
Well, and he was super charming.
Yeah.
As a lugger, and really so conscientious about his work that you go like, this guy's unstoppable. There's nothing he can't do.
Yeah, and a lot of times we use Slack. I don't know what you guys communicate with, but like it feels like almost every day, right, Roger? That we're like, the anniversary of this person's been here for 8 years, and I'm just like,
Yeah, we've started
so
having
lucky.
big anniversaries like 5 years, 6 years in there, which is amazing.
not many companies can say that.
Yeah.
Our most senior organizer just had her
5
5-year
years.
in November. And I mean, she is amazing, an absolute workhorse.
We'd be nowhere without her.
Right? Takes every job. We're like, we've got a job. It's dirty. It's far away. It's whatever. She's like, I'm your gal.
She's
right?
amazing.
No matter what it is, high end, 2 day, whatever it is, she just jumps right in. But, it's funny because when the people who are the senior organizers, we have 4 of them, they set the pace for everybody else. This is how you do it.
Yep.
Right? Show up, you work hard, you're cheerful, you're compassionate. And of course, our clients get unbelievably attached to them.
Yeah. I think nowadays anyone can work anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to live in the corporate headquarters location.
Totally.
So like people want to work for people they love and trust and
Yeah.
respect. And I think that's why you guys are hitting these huge milestones that probably a lot of companies would pray for.
Well, you know how it used to be years ago? You guys are too young for this, but people stayed with companies like your parents or
course.
grandparents for their whole careers. And they sort of took care of them. And then that all went away.
Right.
Pensions went away and all that stuff. But maybe it will come back to a way where like you stay with the company and
Yeah.
you're rewarded for your loyalty,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
So like if people want to get in touch with you, how do they
You
do
can
it?
follow us on Instagram at Done and Done Home. You can go to our website, doneanddonehome.com. That's got all the info. It's got links to the book. It's got links to the course. It's got everything you would need is on our website.
And make sure you
Also in the process of redoing that currently.
pre-order their book on
Yes,
Amazon.
Yes, do it, please.
Love your
Pre-orders
home again.
And this
really
is what
matter.
we've learned. Pre-orders really matter. We didn't know that,
course.
right? And so
Yeah,
they put
like
it
a
out like
lot.
a few months before you can get it. We know it's hard that you can't get it when you order it, but
It'll
we
be
hope
worth
that
it.
you will.
Awesome. That wraps up episode 7, Done and Done Home.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Thank you
thank you
guys
so much for
this
having
was
us.
so great. And I really can't tell you how appreciative I am. They came all the way from New Jersey. Most of the time we traveled to the
Totally.
No, we wanted to come to
Yeah.
Remix. We wanted to see what was going on here.
Thank you guys so much. I
Awesome.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. This was great.
It really was fantastic. Thank you.